Hello, welcome to the crafting guide. We'll talk about new legendaries and epic cards from the Rastakhan's Rumble that are worth crafting or disenchanting, so then you can craft something else. That's why we'll have 3 tiers of cards. It's a really cool card with a unique effect, but it's just not good enough. In my opinion, it's not worth disenchanting because maybe in the future we'll see a bigger support. Right now it's used in Malygos Druid and in Gong Combo Druid. This is just an alternative way to win the game, but it's not good enough. Love Team, I think this is a really good standalone card because it can adapt to the specific situation, but once again, it's not something really important because it's not a win condition. It's a good addition, but it's not necessary. Stampeding Roar, it's used in Taunt Druid and also in Beast Druid. I think it's a really good card, but only for those decks. If you really like to play with this kind of archetype, then yeah, definitely you should include this because it increases the power level of a deck. And Tree Speaker, it's used in only one deck in Trend Token Druid. But if you think about playing with this deck, you should definitely craft this because it's necessary. Once again, it just increased the win ratio by a lot and you've got an alternative way how to win. It's at some point like a different Savage Roar, but you do not get value at the same turn but on the next one, because first minion will be sleeping and then you can attack. Zul'jin is a great card. This is a really safe craft because most of Hunter decks are trying to build a deck around this, plus also when Devsal Correxer will rotate out in about 4 months, then I think we'll see even more decks and more use for this card. The links, it's a really good addition, but it's not necessary. Once again, it might work in a quest hunter because usually this will allow you to complete the quest easily on the next turn, on turn 6, and also it's a really good inclusion, for example, midrange hunter, because then you can buff your Hyena when you will trade with those rush minions. But once again, this is a good addition, but it's not necessary. Master's Call can be used only in one deck, which is a Beast Hunter, and this is a good deck when you're on budget because it costs I think less than 4k dust, but otherwise it's not the best craft because when it's included only in one deck, maybe you should really think about this. And the Beast Within, this is a pure dust because this card is terrible. In my opinion, Hexlord looks like an interesting card, but it's just not good enough. Usually during the early game and in the opening hand, you keep small things, like for example Frostbolt, or I don't know, some sort of card draw like Loot Hoarder, Novice Engineer, so then you do not really need this kind of effect. And when we'll compare this to Syndragosa is way better because we get more stats, plus also 2 random legendaries, but usually in those legendaries there should be something big, or just another huge threat. Then we've got Dragonhawk. In my opinion, this is a really safe craft because not only you can play this in Odd Mage, which is a really powerful deck right now, but also people try to build Control Mage around this card, because if you will think about this, 7 mana 4/4 that gives you Ragnaros. Ragnaros that costs 1 mana less, and on top of this you get +4/+4 stats. Always. So this card is great. This is a really safe craft. Then we've got Blast Wave. In my opinion, this is a terrible card because 2 damage is just not good enough, and Mage right now have a lot of options how to clear the board. Meteor, Blizzard, Flame Strike, Dragon's Fury. So basically this card is not as that important, plus also Overkill. Even if this will trigger, it's still pretty bad because usually getting a random mage spell is just not worth it. And Splitting Image, right now it's not included in any deck, maybe in future, but right now here too. Shirvala is a great card that fits into any kind of control paladin because we play a lot of expensive spells or just some sort of board clears like Consecration, and because of that Shirvala will be cheaper, and then we can just trade into something, get a little bit of healing, so that's fine. It just perfectly fits into this kind of archetype. Plus also we've got High Priest. Usually those two cards should be included in one deck, because then we've got a chance to heal ourselves and our health can go above 30. Plus also there is no negative effect, to be honest, because you do not lose tempo by playing this card. Then we've got a new Challenger and Immortal Prelate. Both cards are okay. They are fine, but they are just not good enough. You know, this might be good in inclusion, but it's not necessary. Priest is one of those super tricky classes because it's really hard to evaluate those cards. I think that Surrender to Madness, this card is super trashy because there is no way that when you will sacrifice such a huge amount of tempo and still get some sort of bonus by buffing your deck. Now, in my opinion, this is a terrible thing. You should dust this, but other cards are super tricky because it looks like some sort of specific combo piece, and in next expansion maybe we'll see more support for those cards. But in my opinion, do not disenchant them, just wait, and maybe in future they will be better. But in my opinion, none of those cards is worth crafting. Then is a really good card, but only in one deck, and I think just because of this fact it's not worth the dust unless you really want to play with Pirate Rogue. Otherwise you can maybe even dust this or just wait, and when there will be more pirates, then you can try to think about building a deck around this. Grawl, I only saw this in the Miracle Rogue and I still don't think that this is necessary. This might be a good inclusion because you will get a decent minion, and on top of this you will draw one card after Grawl will die, but still silence is a really great way to counter this, and it's not necessary. Gurubashi looks like one of those weird cards that might be included in Pogo Rogue, but no, that's just terrible. No one tried to even include this card. There is no way you can sacrifice so much tempo, play such an expensive card, and then get some sort of Battlecry minion. I mean, the only Battlecry minion that you care about is Pogo, and Pogo is just, you know, not the best deck ever. And Cannon Barrage, I know that a lot of people say that this card is great in Pirate Rogue, but usually when you already have board, you're ahead, and you are close to winning the game, and then you do not really need this kind of effect. It's super expensive, and it sucks when you will have 2 or 3 pirates. So it's just not good enough. I really like Kragwa for its effect, but in my opinion it's just not good enough. You sacrifice a lot of tempo in order to get like 1 or 2 spells, which is just not good enough. And right now it's only played in Aggro Overload Shamey, and this deck has a small win ratio. Then we've got Zentimo. Interesting card, interesting effect, but once again, it's used only in one deck, or maybe in some sort of meme decks, but I don't really want to take this into account. So in the Shadowwalk, it makes sense because you can play, for example, Sap or Hex and deal with a few more minions. But once again, this might make this deck like slightly better, but it's not necessary. Hunting Visions, it's a terrible card because why would you discover a spell when you can just play this spell, and usually this will be a rare card and not an epic. Plus also, if you won't get this discount on a different spell, this card is terrible because you spend 3 mana to discover a spell, and then you need to once again spend mana on it. If this would be like, you know, 1 mana discover a spell, the other spell will have like 1 or 2 mana discount, that's fine, but no, right now that's terrible, it's trashy. Big Bad Voodoo, once again a really interesting meme card, but why would you play this when you can just go for the unstable evolution? So in my opinion this is a pure dust unless you want to just play it for fun. Sadly Warlock didn't get a really powerful legendaries or epic cards except Soul Warden. This card is great in any kind of discard Warlock deck because not only you do not sacrifice as that much tempo, I mean like those stats are okay, but on top of this you will also draw 3 cards, or like it's better because you get 3 cards out from nowhere, so you are not closer to fatigue. This card is great. So you should definitely craft this if you think about playing with any kind of discard deck. But anything else, it's just pure trash. It's really bad. I mean, theoretically you want to play High Priestess, but this is just not good enough because those stats are pretty low, and I saw the win ratio, and it's just, you know, why would you include this card when you can play, for example, Clutch Matter Zavas and then get way better benefit. Akali is a great card, but only in Rush Warrior. If you want to play with this archetype, go ahead and craft this card, otherwise it's not really worth it. Waremaster, theoretically it looks like a good card because you can get like 1 or 2 dragons, but because you can't play this in Odd Warrior, and right now that's the, you know, like the best way to play with dragons, it just doesn't make sense. And win ratio of this card and the whole deck, it's pretty low, so I think this is a safe disenchant. The new weapon, it's just not good enough. Theoretically you can kill 4 minions in 1 turn, but usually it won't happen. So like, you know, this is a pure dust. And Lancer, I really like this card. It's OP, it's super powerful. You can play this in Odd Dragon Warrior, you can play this in any kind of Dragon Warrior, so it just makes sense to craft this, but you know, only for this specific deck. Hellfire can be included in only one archetype, which is Male Fatigue Druid, but it's still not necessary because you can play the old version with Azalina, so there is no reason to replace this card or craft this. Undesta, on the other hand, makes a lot of sense in beast decks, especially Hunter and Druid, because when you've got those big beasts like King Crash, Witchwood Grizzly or Charge the Violazer, you can benefit a lot by killing something, and because almost always you will kill a minion, you will also get the trigger on overkill, and this is a great card. Next we've got a Deferral guy, which makes a lot of sense in Hunter or Rogue, especially when you've got a Mechanical Whelp or the Violazer Egg, or you know, all this Deferral stuff. So this card is great. And Mojo Master, this is a good inclusion, but once again this is not necessary because from time to time you can mess with your opponent plans, but it only fits into even Paladin or even Warlock, and those decks perform pretty well without Mojo Master, so it just, you know, not necessary. Rifta is a joke, this is a pure test, no way it will be ever playable. Crowd Roaster, it's a great thing only in dragon decks, so for example in Priest and Warrior that use this kind of synergy. Line Cracker, pure test, the same thing, and applies to Announcer. Theoretically it might be okay in aggressive deck, but still there are better options like Hydra, for example. So it's just inconsistent and not rewarding enough. Snapjaw and Ice Cream Peddler, those cards are trashy and terrible. Do not even think about crafting them. You can disenchant them and be happy about the dust. Untamed Beastmaster, I think it's better to keep this card because there is a small potential in this card, or maybe in future, because those stats are okay, and if you've got a deck that uses a lot of beast, if you will get at least one proc on this, so at least one beast will be buffed by +2/+2, it's already good enough. And Mask Contender can be used in any kind of secret deck, usually in Tempo Secret Mage or for example in Secret Hunter, so then yes, it makes sense to craft this card if you want to play mainly with Secret Hunter, because this deck is super powerful, and maybe in future we'll just see more support for a Secret Paladin or Secret Mage. Both those cards are trashy and you should just dust them right away. No way those things will be playable. If you find this guide helpful, remember to leave a like and subscribe, and also let me know what you think in the comments.